Kelowna, one of the most beautiful places in the world to live, surrounded by provincial parks, pine forests, vineyards, orchards, and mountains. Wouldn't it be great if there was a podcast about our love of Kelowna? Oh no, it's real. This is I Love Kelowna, an interview-style podcast about the fabulous and fascinating people that make up our great city and the Okanagan. Intimate conversations with entrepreneurs, executives, thought leaders, creatives, and anyone who has an interesting story to tell about how they're contributing to our wonderful home. This is I Love Kelowna, and here's your host, Luke J. Minkus.
So I'm here today with Cameron Manning, and Cameron is one of the top realtors in the entire Lower Mainland of British Columbia, and he's calling us today from Maple Ridge. Cameron, thanks for coming on the show today. I know you're an extremely busy guy with all your realty work.
Yeah, Luke, I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me on the podcast here. It's fun going on different ones. I host my own, but, not too often I get to be on the other side of the table, getting to do the interviewee part.
Right. Tell us a little bit about your podcast to start.
Yeah, sure. It's called the Manning Up on Real Estate podcast. Its primary focus is to help investors or real estate professionals essentially man up on their real estate career, as I say. And again, it's a little bit of a play with the title on my last name being Manning, right? Manning Up on Real Estate. But yeah, it's just I try to interview interesting people in both the investment field as well as realtors and mortgage brokers, and try to provide as much value as we can to the listeners that help them just up their game, whether they're investing, becoming a realtor, or whatever.
Interesting. So it's real estate focused, and it's tips for anybody who's in the real estate industry.
That's
so as
right,
a realtor or an investor.
That's correct.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of the topics that you've covered recently?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just finished up a mini series on the podcast called the Corona Chronicles. The Corona Chronicles, the goal was for this to be something that would last throughout the time that we were in self-isolation, quarantine, and allowing people to hear from interesting people that are doing different things in the investment world, right? So that way you could learn a new skill. You could listen to what they're doing, go and look it up, learn a new skill. So maybe you're not ready to just go out and buy and hold something, but I had someone who focuses on private lending. So she talked all about how, when we're talking investing, you're talking about raising capital. She's the one people are raising capital from. So how to get onto that side. We had somebody who was talking about Airbnb it was amazing watching my Airbnb clients, because during the pandemic, they were the busiest they've ever been, which really? I thought would have been the total opposite. At the beginning, they had cancellation after cancellation, and I could see them thinking the sky was falling, right? Mm-hmm. And that's because all the international clients stopped booking. But then all the local people started booking, whether it was someone booking 2 weeks to self-isolate away from their family. We got medical professionals who would put their family there, so that way when they're working back and forth from the hospital, they weren't bringing anything home. And then even just sometimes just weekend bookings, because people just needed to get out of their house, so they went somewhere else to get a change of view. So a lot of my Airbnb clients were booked solid through April and May, and even into June now. So they didn't really lose any cash flow. So yeah, just that's different strategies like that.
That's awesome. Super encouraging. Maybe tell us a bit about the real estate market right now in Lower Mainland.
Well, I mean, we're all seeing the news, and there's such mixed reviews out there in the news. But I just recently pulled up the stats. They just came out for May, and similar to April, home sales are down year over year. But again, we're slowly in that recovery phase, but we're up in terms of sales 33.9% over April. So we're seeing the buyers starting to come back. But like a lot of stories you're hearing across Canada, we have a combination of pent-up demand and low inventory right now. So just out there in the field, we're noticing that all of our listings are getting tons of hits right now. I'm showing nonstop, and multiple offers are back in a big way in our market.
Amazing.
It's kind of crazy for buyers. I'm telling them right now, I think it's going to only get busier, because we're not seeing a lot of inventory still hitting, but we're seeing more and more buyers. So there's kind of a window to be able to get in. And now, obviously, with the announcement of the new CMHC rules for home buyers, right, restricting the debt service ratios, restricting or increasing the credit that they need. I think that window of opportunity is really going to get really busy now, as people are going to want to get their mortgage approvals before July 1st. So I think it's going to be a crazy month coming here.
Crazy month. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I find in the Okanagan, we tend to be about 2 months behind whatever's happening on the coast. So that's good news for us. We've started to see a pickup. Yeah. I haven't seen too many situations with multiple offers, but a couple. And it's definitely getting busier up here too. So you're the investors that you talk to, what sort of profile that they have? Are they mostly local people? Are there Chinese people, Americans?
It's very dependent. We don't have a lot of foreign buyers that we work with. A lot of them are local. But at the same time, we have a large presence across Canada. My team and I, we travel to Toronto as an example, 2 to 3 times a year for large conferences. And we've got a lot of Toronto clients, Montreal, a lot of people who look at the Lower Mainland, look at British Columbia as a stable province to invest in. I myself am originally from Edmonton, and I own in Edmonton. And for me, it's been a market of just no growth for 6 years now, right?
Yeah.
So people look at it that if you can make a property work from an investment standpoint, both cash flow and long-term hold wise, you're going to get that market growth that you don't tend to get anywhere else in Canada. And then again, from looking at the investment side, from the foreign buyers, especially right now, after the post-pandemic, people are looking to Canada as a safe place, not just for their money now, but potentially for, health reasons. We responded very, very quickly out here in BC. And again, we're going to be the first port people are going to come into in the Lower Mainland. So,
yeah, that's awesome. Just lost my train of thought. That's okay. That's why we had it. Yep. So how has the some of the rules, like as far as vacancy tax and foreign buyers tax, like has that impacted the market any significant way?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, 2018, 2019, following the constant hammering from all levels of government, we saw almost the brakes put on our market back in June 2018. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until about July 2019 that we really started to see things ramping back up, because I think a lot of buyers, they didn't leave the market. They just kind of put on pause saying, okay, what's next? What's going to change, right? We don't want to buy because suddenly we might get hit with a new tax. So buyers took a step back. It pent up that demand. And then July 2019, it was like, okay, we're over a year now. Nothing's changed. Okay, this is the new norm, right? We've been talking new norms a lot. And it's even before COVID, we were talking, this is the new norm for buying. This is what you have to expect, making sure that you submit your vacant home tax exemptions, right? Just one more piece of paperwork that you got to do. And from July forward pre-COVID, we had 9 months of straight market growth.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when you say cash flow, I seem to have the impression of Vancouver in 2015 that it was a bubble. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed to me that the rent you could get for a unit was way out of proportion to what the carrying costs would be. Is that accurate? I mean, is that the case today, and was it the case 5 years ago?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that hasn't changed. And a lot of our investors are actually looking to the Valley. If you're wanting to use the minimum amount of down payment, 20%, and still make positive cash flow, then we're looking in markets like Mission, Abbotsford, Chilliwack, places like that. Obviously, if you're going to get closer to Vancouver, you're looking more in the attached market if you're looking for the minimum amount down. However, especially due to the 2018-19 slowdown, we did see prices either go down in certain markets or level off. But the problem in the Lower Mainland has always been our vacancy. And even now, our vacancy is still very, very low. So obviously, when you've got an extended period of low vacancy, rents are now on the rise. So we're starting to see a lot of cities coming back into what I like to call the cash flow zone, right? Now, suddenly the rents that you can get versus the purchase price is starting to make sense again, right? And then again, as we talk, that change that CMHC came out, I look at it from the investor standpoint that this is going to cost a lot of people to not be able to get into the market. If their credit is just slightly below that 680, they're going to have to wait, putting even more pressure onto that rental side. So again, I see that's going to continue to push the rents up and make it, unfortunately, less affordable as we continue. But it's the reality of what the market is in the Lower Mainland. People want to live here.
More people want to move there than move out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's definitely the case here in the Okanagan. And I think it's a good indicator if people are wondering what's going to happen to prices in the future. Yeah. Do more people want to move into your town than move out? Yeah. Just in general. So tell us a little bit about you. So you moved from Edmonton. Is that where you grew up?
That's correct. Yeah. So I was born in Edmonton, but raised in a smaller city just outside in the suburbs, Spruce Grove. And, I was raised in a very entrepreneurial family in a way. My mom was always trying different businesses out. She, different network marketing companies, doing this, that, insurance, whatever. And so I was raised around there. There's something more than just a 9-to-5 type job. And I actually started myself in business. I mean, I kind of joke. I started when I was about 7 years old when I started picking crab apples and selling them door to door, only to find out that business didn't last long because all my neighbors had crab apple trees too, right? But my first real business, I started doing a network marketing business at 16 years old. And for me, I found out network marketing wasn't for me. I wasn't a big fan of trying to sell people these products that they might not need and then, try to recruit them into the business. So I got started at about 20 years old in real estate through starting as an investor myself. So I like the fact that when I'm talking to investors, I come from experience, right? That I've been doing it prior to being a realtor. So it's your classic, you listen to a radio ad that says, hey, come out for this 2-hour thing, learn how to invest in real estate. So you go to that, they upsell you. You go to that, they upsell you again. You end up spending $30-something thousand. But I'm glad I did because it opened my eyes to the possibility of investing. And I started a rent-to-own company out in Edmonton for the first 5 years I was doing it, helping people get into home ownership through my program where we would buy the home that they chose and set up a program where they could fix their credit, build their down payment, everything like that, so they can purchase the property at the end of their 3 or 5 years, however long we set it up for. So that's kind of my introduction into real estate. And then when I moved out to BC, I started talking about these different groups that I was a part of and all these things. And someone turned around and says, you need to form a group that teaches people how to invest in real estate. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I'm just moving out here so I can expand. I want to be in BC. I started working with one of my mentors. But I ended up creating a local group that we now run a monthly meeting. Started off with like 6 people around a coffee table. Now we have about 75 to 100 people who come out monthly and obviously now online, where I was teaching people how to invest in real estate through the strategies I had learned, right? I'd bring out guest speakers, try to make it a big event of it. But getting my license kind of stemmed from that when I realized that I'm teaching all these people and I'm making like $150 or whatever per person per year as a membership. And then they're going off and then having me review all their contracts because their realtors didn't know about vendor takebacks or whatever the case might be. So I'm like, there's a missed opportunity here. And my mentor kept saying, who I work with on the Kelly Fry team here, she kept saying, Cameron, you need to get your license. Mm-hmm. You need to get your license. Seriously, you're missing out, right? So that kind of spurred on getting my license.
And when was this now? What year?
2015.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got my license and then I still run my group. So now with those clients of mine, I'm teaching them how to invest and I'm able to hold their hand through the whole process and obviously earn a commission. So awesome. Yeah.
Fantastic. So, so did you move straight to Maple Ridge from Edmonton?
No, I actually started when I first moved here into Burnaby over by the Lougheed Town Center area, for those who might know it. Lived there for a little while, then circumstances pushed me out to Maple Ridge, and I'm actually just in the middle of getting back to Coquitlam now, back to kind of the same area. I'm actually moving in 10 days. Because, again, I came out to the Lower Mainland for the reason it's like, Maple Ridge reminds me a little bit of kind of home. It's a little smaller town. It's actually got a similar name, Spruce Grove, Maple Ridge.
Right.
So I'm actually moving in a couple days, but I've invested in Maple Ridge myself. I've owned out there, done very, very well. I've invested in the Lower Mainland, Fraser Valley. So, it's any area that you can purchase out here, you'll do well, whether you're living in the house or you're investing. So.
Yeah. What about your podcast? When did you get the idea to start that?
That is a little over almost a year and a half now. It started off, I started really heavily getting into digital marketing. Obviously, I recognize that things are moving heavily online. I was doing a lot of the traditional as a realtor marketing. And I took a course on social media, and it started off, building Instagram and then building a YouTube channel and things like that. And then my coach at the time kept saying, Cameron, you're missing the boat. You need to have a podcast. He's like, you've got a platform that you already preach on. It would be easy enough for you to launch it. And so about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago now, launched the Manning Up on Real Estate podcast. I'll be the first to admit it. I go through spurts where I'll get a lot of stuff done, and then maybe a few months hiatus. But this new series has really ramped things back up. We're getting a lot of news on it, a lot of different people wanting to reach out and be on the podcast. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of creating new other mini series ideas that I'm like, okay, if I can create these mini series, then I can hit up all the interviews all at once and then put them out there over time, kind of thing. So create content backlogs, which would be great.
That's awesome. How many episodes do you have so far?
Like I said, not a lot, because sometimes it would be like 6 months before I'd post one. Let me just take a look at that for you. We're looking at a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, about 15 or 16 episodes.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And so maybe I could give you a couple tips. I told Jazz one great idea that I'm not sure where I got the idea, but it helped me to expand like dramatically. So at the end of every show, I say, who would you like to nominate to come on the show?
Right.
And just 2 criteria. They have to agree with the name of the show. I love Kelowna. So if they hate Kelowna, they can't come on. And the other one is it's someone that you would find interesting to listen to.
Right.
So you see how that's just a real simple way to just expand it dramatically.
Absolutely.
I never would have even probably heard of you, to be honest.
Right, yeah.
If Jazz in Toronto didn't nominate you.
Right.
And somebody nominated Jazz.
Yep.
So that's how I've been able to expand and getting people now in multiple cities outside of Kelowna. So,
yeah, I love that. That's a great tip, actually.
and then of course, when I post the episode, I tag you. I'll tag Jazz for nominating you, and I'll tag the people that you've nominated. So people click on that and say, "What's this?"
Yeah, no, that's fantastic.
And, Cameron gave me a shout out, so I want to hear this. So
yeah, makes total sense. I love that concept.
Yeah, pretty simple.
Fantastic. It's very simple. And that's sometimes I always find the simple things are create the biggest wave. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah, no, I love that.
And one other thing I do is I'll take your headshot. I'll make it into a 1080 by 1080 pixel square for Instagram, and I make a meme out of it. So I'll take my favorite quote of yours, and I'll put that on the picture and make a meme out of it and put it on Instagram.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So, yeah.
It's been a while since I've been memed.
Yeah. So it's going to happen.
That's awesome. I love it.
Cool. Oh, my wife just texted me and says it was my beautiful and sexy wife who gave me the idea.
Ah, there you go.
For the nominations.
She's listening in.
She's in the other room here. So that's cool. Yeah. So, is there anything else you wanted to cover? I never did get your bio, unfortunately. So I just kind of riffing here, and
Yeah.
Not really sure what to ask you about.
No worries. Yeah. I mean, big thing for knowing me a little bit. And it's kind of a platform that I stand on a lot, especially for coaching investors, is that, if I can do it, anyone can do it. I'm not like an overly educated guy. I don't have any college degree, university degree, kind of got into real estate right away and just ran with it. And I find that still, and some listeners might disagree, and that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. But I don't necessarily say that you need to have, a big education to be successful in as an entrepreneur. Right. I really tie into a lot of the rich dad, poor dad mentality there. Right. And learning, he teaches the cash flow quadrants in his second book. And the real money to me was always on the business and investing side. And it wasn't on the employee side. And even on the S, like even as a realtor, technically we're self-employed and whatever, but I play on the investing side in the cash flow quadrant. And, I did a speech, and I don't tend to go over a lot of that in different talks and things that I do. But I was asked specifically to say, why is it that you were able to do it versus somebody else who, and it's because I didn't have the analytical mind that overthinks it, and to me, the math involved in investing in real estate and being successful, grade 5, 6 math, right?
Yeah.
So I don't need a college degree, because it's like, okay, rent's in, which is your income, which, that minus your expenses equals your cash flow. Pretty simple math, right?
Pretty simple.
So that's kind of been a platform that I say a lot. And again, for me too, is that, I really stand by, age is irrelevant in this business. I've got a lot of people who will flaunt how many years they've been in the business and everything like that. And no matter who you are, you can be successful, and age is irrelevant. And that's another platform I've stood by. And, I've got clients that are 60 and 70 years old who know that I know my stuff, so they come to me. And then I've got people that I'm learning from. My new assistant is 19, and I'm learning so much from her. And like, it's just you never know where the experience is going to come from. So just don't ever discount someone based on their age. It's all about the experience they have. Right.
Yeah. What kind of things do you have your assistant do? So my wife was my assistant. Now she's got a full-time job elsewhere.
Right.
So I've been thinking about getting an assistant again. What kind of tasks does your assistant take care of?
Yeah, so we're easing her in. She only does a couple hours a day with me, but she's trying to take care of all my back end stuff. So it leaves me time to focus on clients. So she takes care of, let's say, marketing. Like her and I were talking about my monthly newsletter weekly newsletter that we're just getting started, right? I realized that I'm missing a big boat not having a newsletter. So she's been setting that all up for me. She sets up all my database calls that I have to make. She makes sure that my database is organized. She, checks all my transactions, make sure that all the paperwork is in order, that I'm not missing any documents. So that way, when we get through the transaction, there's no hiccups at the end for a client. So she's been really instrumental on helping organize all that for me. Because as you're well aware as an agent as well, you get bogged down sometimes. You get really busy if you're out in the field all day long, and it's nice not to have to come home and then do all your paperwork at 10 o'clock at night, right?
Right.
So she's slowly taking that off. And I mean, we're a fairly large team. Like we have 4 full-time agents. We've got 4 more that are getting their license that we're training and coaching up. And then we've got my assistant. We've got a team manager. We've got another assistant we're training. We've got a runner that goes and does all of our lock boxes and everything like that. So, we're a fairly large full service team.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And I know a lot of people make the excuse, like they say, well, I just don't have the time to do all the things that Cameron does and all the deals that Cameron does and, the podcast and everything else. And we all have the same 24 hours in a day. Yeah. So what does a typical day look like for you? Like, how are you able to do so many deals and be that successful?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's getting up early. I mean, it took me a while to get into that because it's about creating habits, right? And when you're not used to that, if you have a different job you're transitioning from, but pre-COVID, it was getting up early. Let's say 5:30 in the morning, hitting up the gym with my team leader. Her and I would go for a spin class or a workout so we can get ourselves kind of energized. We would be in the office by 8:30 a.m. 8:30 is our what we call script and role play time. So we practice talking to clients with each other, because the big thing that we always say is you shouldn't be practicing this business on your clients. Practice it before so that you're able to service your clients, right? 9 o'clock rolls around. 9 o'clock is our lead gen time. So we make our phone calls, whether it's new prospects, following up, just getting in touch with people who we might not have gotten in touch with, checking up with our hot clients that are ready to go with things. And then 12 o'clock until I get home. Now, I'm in a situation where, luckily being, for me, single, I can work longer, right? I don't have the family thing. So sometimes I won't go home till 10 o'clock at night anyways. But for the most part, I'm home by like 6 or 7 o'clock at night. But that time is for going on appointments. So meeting listing sellers who want to sell, going out, taking out buyers, having coffee with the other clients, sometimes taking clients to dinners as well. I mean, being an investment agent, I'm lucky that I'll have some clients that will buy 5 or 6 properties in a year, right? So those types of clients, you want to go and treat them a little bit, right? So you take them for dinners. Right. And so obviously then the rest of the time, I'll go home, I'll edit the podcast, I'll edit my YouTube videos at home just to make sure that they get done when I've got new video, new content, new podcast content. But bringing on my assistant, this has been for me as a new venture. She's only been with me for about 3 months. And that was after I hit a certain level with my team leader where I said, like, okay, I've kind of capped out. 3 years in a row, I haven't sold more houses than the next year. So I've clearly hit my own personal ceiling that if I don't have the help to take the load off of, then I'm not going to be able to surpass that, which is what they want for us, right? She says, I want you selling more. And so bringing on my assistant, her job is now to then pull all of that extra away from me so I can focus on clients. I can maybe make one more phone call. I can have one more dinner with a client, right? Do one more round of showings because I don't have that extra work. And our brokerage that we're with, Keller Williams, they do a lot of training that there's 5 things that we get paid for as agents. And that's lead generating, lead follow-up, negotiating contracts, going on appointments, and script practice. So my focus should be on those 5 things every day versus writing a contract, creating social posts, everything like that.
Right. I see. So script practice was the 5th one you said.
Yep.
So do you practice with a teammate or?
Yep. And right now it's been actually over Zoom, just because of social distancing. So we bring in like 5 people. We'll take a script and we'll run through it, giving each other objections and different things like that. So we can practice how to handle it with when clients bring it up. Right.
Very cool. Excellent. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I really appreciate your time today, Cameron.
Thanks for having me again.
And it was good to hear that the market is picking up for you guys. And back to good times, it seems. We just got a report out of the States today, and the employment figures are way, way better than they expected. The month of May actually gained 2.5 million jobs. They were expecting another 5-6 million job loss. So there's still a huge amount of unemployment, of course, but seems to be bouncing back quite rapidly. So that's great.
Yeah, I just watched the Inman conference with Brad Inman, and he had a couple of economists on there that are saying, like, the one guy kept saying, this is a health crisis, not a financial crisis. And all of their projections seem to be that, quarter 3 and 4 will look pretty good in terms of housing and everything like that. So we shouldn't see the same crash that we saw in 08 and 09, right?
Right.
So
good stuff. Who would you like to nominate? Some people do like 3-4 people. Most do 1 or 2.
Yeah. But, great. The minute you told me about that, I've been racking my brain trying to think. I'm like, I got to make sure that I send you guys someone who will really add a lot of value is my goal. Someone that's added a lot of value to me recently, that I met through another speaking engagement. Her name is Jody Vetterl. She's actually been on my podcast, and she comes from a very unique perspective. And again, obviously my contacts are for the most part investment focused. She wrote a book called Beyond the Bank, and it's predominantly focused on how you can become the bank for other people. So, again, using private money, hard money loans, things like that. And she teaches some interesting courses on how to utilize your RSPs and TFSAs in ways that are not readily out there known, but are allowed according to the CRA.
Beautiful.
Right? So Jody Vetterl would be one. And in all honesty, I don't know if this would fit for the podcast, but even my own mentor, Kelly Fry. So obviously I'm on her team, the Kelly Fry team. And as a powerhouse woman, I've always been a keen fan of real strong women in the industry. And she's somebody who has over 150 doors to her name. She's been a big time investor. She's been an investor mentor, and obviously really has taken this from the ground up from our team, building a large group that we are now. So awesome. It's been fun being part of that growth with her, but she definitely brings a lot of great expertise to people in the investment world as well.
Fantastic. That's great. So I'm going to send you an email, and you can reply with that bio. I don't know what happened to it. But,
I'll try to get that to you again.
And no problem. And then also the contact info for those two people that you mentioned. That's great. And thanks again for your time.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Okay. Well, I'll talk to you soon.
You betcha.
Luke Mankus is a realtor. He loves what he does. We asked Luke if he had any regrets about moving here in 2011. And he always says, yeah, one regret. And that is he didn't move here sooner. When Luke came here, he didn't know anyone. He didn't know the neighborhoods or anything or anyone besides his daughter, who was 6 years old at the time. So he knows what it's like. Now, he's an expert and has helped well over 100 single people, couples, families, and investors with their real estate needs in the Okanagan. If you're new to our beautiful city, Luke can help you get connected with great lawyers, dentists, carpenters, landscapers, swimming pool installers, you name it. And whether you're new to Kelowna or not, Luke knows real estate. He can help you find a great property, negotiate a good deal, and hold your hand all the way through the process until the day you get your shiny new set of keys. Luke is known as a no-pressure kind of guy. He's had clients where it took even a year or more to get them into a property. He just doesn't believe in rushing things. On the other hand, when you decide it's time to act, he's diligent and he'll work day and night until the job is done. Give Luke Mankus a call or a text message at any time. 778-215-4273. Again, that's 778-215-4273. 778-215-4273 to chat with Luke about real estate.